Good evening, good evening. Welcome to another Sunday night edition of G's One of One. And we will get started momentarily. We just want to give people time to get the notifications before we actually start our chat tonight. Um, I'm largely just doing a recap and then going ahead of my week, and then gonna go ahead and jump into the chat because last week I did not, get into the chat at all. I went straight through and stayed on topic, but tonight, we can just go ahead and kind of get into the chat. If anybody has any questions or want to talk about something, we'll dive in. But I will cover the usual suspects in about 2 minutes. So we just want to give people a couple of minutes to get notifications and chime in. And as I said, I will cover a bit of my week, my weekly recap. But I do appreciate you guys, rocking with G's One of One and tuning in, coming to hang out here tonight, as we always do on Sunday evenings. You are appreciated. Make sure we're not too high. Try to get our camera just right. No, we got quite a few people over on the West Coast. So generally, like while it's pretty late on the East Coast, it's just 6 o'clock over there. So it's just 6 o'clock. So this is probably a good prime time for folks on that side. I thought about not chiming in tonight since I didn't schedule it, but in true fashion, I like to show up. So we like to be accountable in the obesity community. So I definitely wanted to go ahead and show up tonight just to make sure that I'm being accountable, and doing what it is that I always said I do, with my channel. So that's what we're here tonight. So we're gonna give it another minute, and then we'll just get started. Just allowing other individuals to get, notifications that we actually are live. In fairness, some might be watching the BET Awards, doing other things. So we want to be cognizant of that and give them an opportunity to chime in as they so feel. So let's give it about 30 seconds and then we'll start rolling. All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Just wanted to give a few minutes for everybody to see how to get those notifications, and then come on over and get the opportunity to see that we were live, so they can come on over and chat with us. I just pretty much want to get on here, recap my week, and then kind of open it up if anybody have any topics that they would like to talk about. I'll probably do a poll this week, so that way I can actually ask people what it is that they would like to cover or talk about on my next live, which will not be next Sunday, because next Sunday, Lord willing, I will be in Mexico with my children and my wife. So we will be on vacation. So G's One of One channel will be on vacation. So we will actually not be here next weekend for the holiday weekend. but I may jump in and probably do like some sort of short or something in the middle of the week, or maybe even Friday, which is considered our holiday. So yeah, so I won't be here next Sunday, but I may actually jump in on Friday, depending on what it is that I get back in the poll that I might set up. Getting information from everybody to see what it is that they would like to discuss. All right. So as far as me, my week 77, I believe it's week 77. It's either 76 or 77, and we up there now. So sometimes I, tend to cross those weeks if I didn't notate my progress for the week in my actual notes. But I did weigh in as usual, and I am happy to report that I have reached the lowest weight that I can remember. My weight for today was 214 pounds, which gives me a total loss of 105 pounds. So it's I think it was 214.8 or 0.6, and I started at 319.6. So that would be 105 pounds down in 76 or 77 weeks. I have to check that. And I'll correct that later. But yeah, it's either 76 or 77 weeks. So we come a long, long way, and we got a lot of progress because everybody knows that I get on here and I talk about the appropriate way to actually look at your progress, right? Because you have individuals that still haven't mastered that, that are still looking at total body weight. And then you got a lot of individuals who have, and sometimes I get credit for it, and sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? You got people shouting out Jesus 1 of 1, and I do appreciate it. Some people don't; they just talk to me in private, but that's all good too. Just as long as people are actually getting the message, right? Because that's the whole thing. It doesn't really matter about the public, credit. It's more so important that people are actually getting the right numbers and actually got the proper plans for their journey. And when I tell you, there's a ton of people that's actually starting to actually look at body recomposition, and not just total weight. And that's why it keeps being a topic and why I keep talking about it, right? So before I go too far on the tangent with that, I will say that, like I said, I'm down to 214 pounds, which is 105 pounds loss. 105 pounds lost. What I feel like is more important to note is that my numbers are amazing. I have several optimal and several, good, right? I have, no trouble. There were no trouble numbers in my last blood work. The only thing that I haven't had is like a hormone panel, which I will ultimately create an appointment very, very, very soon, in the next few weeks or the next month. And I will actually go and get a panel for the things that we don't test for the appropriate way, I should say, for like testosterone and all of those things, because being 45, that's a great time to actually start monitoring that stuff. I'm not, I don't really want to end up on, testosterone injections, but if I need to be, I will be, right? So that's also something that I do want to look in just to know the numbers, right? And I feel pretty good, so I don't know if that's something or a bridge that I even need to cross, but I definitely like to know all the information for everything, right? So it's always good to know. You got to know everything to have a proper plan, like I was saying with the scale. So the important thing with the 214 pound number that I used is that I still have nearly 97 pounds of skeletal muscle, which is a very decent amount of muscle for individual of my stature, 6 foot tall, 214 pounds. That means that I still have about 70% of skeletal muscle. I'm sorry, 40, I think that was 46% skeletal muscle and 70% overall muscle mass, because then you're including the organs and things of that nature, which would be, if you're talking about pounds, I have about 97 pounds of muscle and 155 pounds of overall muscle of that 214 pounds. And the other important part is my body fat. So my body fat is 47 pounds or 22%. That is where my body fat is, and my end all be all would be to be about 15%, because that is very that's fit. You know what I mean? It's not like athletic. Where you're gonna get you got like that 10%. 12%, but 15% is definitely fit. And so I would like to hover in between that 15 and 20%. You know, just like I would like my weight to hover between 195 and 200, because those are optimal readings. It's optimal weight. That's an optimal composition for individual that's 6 foot tall and around 200 pounds. So, and I did mention on the last conversation we had about having some lipo, and that lipo would be once I actually reach that number. So I still would need to lose about 15 pounds before I actually go to do it, because I think at that point I probably could get to about 20. I could get under 20% body fat and be optimal for that kind of thing. Because well, I want to say, instead of saying optimal, I'll say I'll be a good candidate. Optimal would be being 195 and at 15%, because then at that point when they go in to do it, you're talking about ab definition, right? So I don't know if I'm going there, but like I said, for me to be a good candidate, you know, I'd like to lose another 15 pounds. So if I can get down that 15 pounds and then get it done, because what we're talking about is stubborn the abdominal and love handles, right? That's what we're talking about. So because that's stubborn for me, right? That's kind of what that is. So I'm not sure, you know, what what it looks like, even when I get to that point, I think I still probably would need to do it, because I mean, look, a lot of us been obese for the majority of our life. So me being obese for the majority of my life, I know that I'm probably not going to be, someone that, gets washboard abs without actually getting, some sort of lipo. Now, I'm not looking for washboard abs, but I'm just saying, to even be 100% satisfied, that's probably what it is that I would have to do. The problem is a lot of guys aren't willing to talk about it, right? They're not honest, but when you go to these offices, you see a bunch of guys' photos, right? So the guys are getting it done. They're just not telling nobody. You know what I mean? Because I could probably lose another 30 pounds and still have some of that stubborn fat. And honestly, I don't need to lose 30 pounds, but if I want to be, if I want to talk about the scale, and I want to be like by the book, it says that my optimal weight is about 190 pounds, right? Based on the muscle mass that I have. If you just go by BMI, my healthy weight would be 183 pounds, right? So that is definitely way smaller than I would ever want to be. And it's not accurate, because, again, due to the muscle mass that I have, like I said, I have 97 pounds of muscle, and the muscle is expensive. So the last thing you want to do is be getting rid of your muscle. I would never get rid of my muscle to drop weight. That doesn't make sense, right? So the lowest, or the sweet spot that they said for me, and at the absolute lowest, would be 190 pounds if I wanted to go that low, but 200, between 195 and 200 is just fine. So that's why, my goal, for the longest, after my first goal, which was to get to below 220 to 219 pounds, or lose 100 pounds, I accomplished that, right? I have accomplished that. I'm 105 pounds down. So that's why my second goal is what it is now, which is to get down, to between 195 and 200 pounds, and then have like that lipo to get rid of that subcutaneous stubborn fat around my abdomen and my flanks, so that way I could wear any shirt, or or no shirt at all, right? And be, very proud at the pool and everywhere else. I could do it now, but I like to, do all that I can do to be, as appropriate as possible. So that's literally like the last step. My actual skeletal muscle mass. My skeletal muscle mass is not total. Total is 155. Skeletal is 97. That's my skeletal, which is the actual muscle attached to what up, RMZ? Which is attached to the bone, right? Not the total, because total would encompass organs and all of that. So that is, and the muscle that's surrounding them. So that is actually 155. My skeletal is 97. So it's like 96.8 or 96.9. So yeah, So when you put all that in Google, it tells you, you know, that like this what's optimal for you. So you don't want to supersede that. Like muscle is expensive. So if you go by BMI, and this is why I said BMI is flawed, you know, and I tell everybody that it's because it wouldn't make sense for me to go to what BMI says at 183 pounds. I would be losing some of that, right? So it doesn't make sense. So if I go by my Renpho, by Google and other, it pretty much says the sweet spot is between 190 and 195, right? My personal goal was to be 200 pounds. It's always been that. So if I get to 195 or 200, great. But I'm definitely still, you know, like I said, aiming to have some of that, the laser lipo around that abdomen just to get rid of the rest of that fat, because I'm not interested in taking no other shot. My wife is in here. She says, "Hey guys, good evening." So I'm not interested in taking additional shots. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the shot I'm taking is working and it's good to go. Like I said, if I only shot that I would even ever venture to in any farther into would probably be testosterone. If it said that I need it, hopefully not, because I don't want to take another shot at all. I'm fine with taking the shot that I take, and that's about it. But if it's said to be, you know, based on a hormone panel, that's something that I would need, then so be it. But I feel good. You know, I actually have been increasing my weight, my lifting. I'm actually going to increase the weight on my lifting, because that's the other thing that Google is telling me I need to do, is increase the weight a little bit more. Increase my actual mileage, because I walk about a mile a day, but it said I should be doing 2. So I'm gonna start with a mile and a half, you know, maybe this week, and then try to get it to 2 probably after vacation, because I'm pretty sure I'll come back a few pounds heavy. So that's why I'm a, I set a big goal and see if I can get, maybe I'll see if I can get to 210 this week. If I get to 210, then when I go on vacation, I ain't worrying about gaining 5 or 6 pounds, right? Because I'll be back to, you know, where I'm at. So just right above. So we do have appointments to go and, you know, check that out with a physician, a surgeon next week once we come back off of vacation. And just to start talking about it, because, you know, this is not something we're doing now, but I always said I wanted to be, you know, after 2 years of my 2-year mark would be January 5th of 27. So sometime after that is what I'm talking about, because at that point I feel like the treatment will have helped as much as it can. I will be done did everything that I possibly can to get to as low as possible. So it would be okay to explore that, because that's, anybody that gets that, I feel like it's the last piece of anything, any type of health journey, is to do that. And that's just to like finishing touches. So that way you look aesthetically pleasing the way you want to look. And that's pretty much it. And my wife as well, you know, pretty much the same thing. So, you know, there's that. But I am, like I said, very happy that I had a very good weigh-in. Lost 2 pounds in the last week. I did post my latest numbers. My trend looks really good over the last 3 months. I've lost nearly 6 pounds on the medication. But what the caveat about that is it's been fat, right? Because when I first started, I want to say 15 milligrams about 3 months ago, I believe my body fat was at like 28, and now it's down to 22. So, and my weight. So my weight was also, I think when I first started I was at like 222. So technically I want to say I probably lost a little more than 6 pounds, more like 8 pounds, I think. You know, I'd say 8 pounds, but the Renpho, I didn't start using the Renpho until I probably was at 222. So I probably was at 224 actually, when that actually started. So 224, probably 222, because I'm 214, that makes sense. I was probably 222 and now I'm 214. So it's about 8 pounds. So, you know, but the good thing is it's been primarily fat, you know, that I'm losing, and I've been gaining muscle, you know, not a ton, but I have, you know, gained some muscle. You know, I haven't lost any muscle, you know. So I'm actually happy that throughout this whole process, I was able to not lose too much muscle at all. You know what I mean? And like I said, overall, I like the way my body looks. And the biggest key for me with the recomp was, or is my clothing. So while the scale is going down slowly, my clothing is drastically different. You know what I mean? Like, it fits so different. You know what I mean? Like my wife went out and got me like some trunks today, and they're large and they fit amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I went on a vacation before, I was probably wearing like a 2X in trunks. You know what I mean? So we wearing a large, and a large is like good. I might even be able to wear medium. You know what I mean? My pants size is down to a 34. But they're even loose on me. My subcutaneous fat is down to 15% on the Renpho. When I first got that scale, it was at like, I want to say about 18 or 19. So being down to 15, it's in that green zone. Visceral fat is at 8. It was at 10 when I started. So like I said, I posted all those numbers. The weight is very good because my body is recomping nicely. It's definitely recomping nicely. I didn't want to lose it fast. I wanted to lose it. I can't remember the last time I heard Trunks. Yeah, man. Yeah, I got to, what's crazy, RMZ, about the whole Trunks thing is that they got some new stuff now. I mean, maybe it's new to me because I don't really do the swim trunks and all like that, but the inside got actual like briefs. I mean, actual like boxer briefs in there instead of like the little annoying brief net that's all uncomfortable that you got to cut out sometimes. It got actual like waterproof like boxer briefs in there. Like I never. This is the first time I've seen it. She went out and got them earlier. You know what I mean? And then I tried them on, and man, they fit really good. So I'm excited about that. I do got some of the other ones. Some of the other that net is annoying, man. It's annoying. I have to cut it out a lot of times. So actually having that, the way they make them now is much more comfortable. So take a little bit of getting used to, because they're fitted, but it's definitely way more comfortable. But yeah, man, I got that no ass at all issue. So most of my pants, fall down no matter what size I get. No matter how tight I tighten that belt, they seem to still slide on off my behind because it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. So, that's probably is why I'm into a 34 now. I'm talking about I need a 32. Cause it just keeps sliding off my behind. I don't care what I put on. I had that string so tight, I need a double knot. Still sliding off my behind. So it is what it is, man. I'm happy about it because my hip to waist ratio is definitely in the appropriate category. I think my hip to waist ratio is something like a 0.87, something like that. Yeah, it's something like that. My goodness. So all good things. So I'm really loving it, man. Being where I am in the journey, and I just wanted to pretty much update that. My wife is still doing amazing. Obviously she in the chat and she's coming on down and she's doing the weightlifting and was talking about increasing her weights to her dumbbells because she had the lighter ones and she actually is going to go a little bit heavier to try to increase her results, as well. So, but it's just amazing to be at this point in the journey where we're talking about body recomp and all that. I mean, who would have thought? You know what I mean? Just, I want to say I think it's been, what is it? About 10 months. I think 10 months for her, and then a year and a half for me. Who would have thought we would have been to be here talking about these things? You know what I mean? Body recomposition and talking about losing body fat percentage and gaining muscle and all that, and it actually be happening. You know what I mean? Like, not really dependent on the scale. So, but like I said, these talks are working because, like I said, I go through the community. I see a bunch of lives and I see all the ladies getting on talking about body recomp. And I mean, obviously, I didn't invent body recomp. People have been talking about it forever. But the people that do listen to me are taking heed that have been on a journey and that have week after week consistently just talked about losing losing total weight, are now actually diving in. And this is why, like I said, it's a reoccurring topic and it might seem, redundant, but this really matters. Like, you know what I mean? Because this is what the conversation needs to switch to. And sometimes you got to keep on coming on and keep on saying the same thing until people hear you. You know what I mean? And people are hearing me. Again, they might not say it publicly, loudly, but they are sending me messages and talking, to me and saying, hey, thank you for, talking about the what we should be looking at and not necessarily every week, just going after, how much weight did I lose, how much total body weight did I lose, because I'm actually learning about body fat percentage and muscle. And the thing is, what we got to know is our ladies in our community carry a lot more subcutaneous body fat, you know, in a lot of cases where a lot of the ladies have, you know, reached beneath obesity. You know, they've reached beneath obesity, meaning that their body, their BMI is like 28, 29, but yet they still sitting at like 40 and 45% body fat, right? So that's a tough place to be for some of them. So sometimes they need, you know, a little bit of guidance on what that looks like. You know what I mean? Because I mean, complete optimal for a fit lady is probably more like 25%, you know, but that's not where they have to be healthy. I would even venture to say most of the ladies that we're talking about that have climbed out of obesity would be very well at 35%. A lot of them, you know, obviously 30% is if you're talking to a fitness person where they would want the ladies to be. You know, you want them to be at 30%, but or 25 if it's possible to get there. And just for comparison's sake, a lady being at 25% would be like a man being at 15%, or a lady being at 30 would be like a guy getting to 20%. And these are acceptable ranges by society's measures for, you know, being healthy, right? So that's why I want to make it make sense. But for some of the ladies who actually have had, you know, very high subcutaneous fat and things of that nature, 35% won't be a bad goal to strive for. It'll actually be still very good. And the way to do it is to crowd it out with that muscle, by building muscle, you know. And how do you do that? You do that by increasing your movement, increasing your protein, and actually increasing your resistance, you know. And those three things are done by walking a little bit longer, right? Hey, Shani, how you doing? You walk just a little bit longer. You lift just a little bit heavier, right? And you eat just a little bit more, right? So maybe just a little bit, which should be the title for just a little bit more would be the title for tonight, right? There we have it. Boom, just a little bit more. Because I struggled with a title for tonight's live, but I think I just found it. Live and in living color, right? Only on G's One of One do we actually talk ourselves right through the middle, right through the live into a topic or a title for our lives, right? Because we can do what we like, because it's our channel, right? But yeah, I think that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because that's really what it takes. It takes just a little bit more, right? Can you do just a little bit more, right? Can you increase? And that is what the advice was for me, you know, like I said, on my road to where it is that I want to get, is just to do just a little bit more. You know what I mean? How do I do it? You know, how did I get that done? And I've actually already started that because I'm pretty religious. There was times where it was like I work out twice a week, you know what I mean? Sometimes 3 times a week. Now I work out 3 times a week minimum. That's my minimum. But I've been actually getting 4. You know, and when I say workout, I mean lifting weights. That's what I mean. As far as walking, I walk every day. You know what I mean? And when I say every day, I mean 5 days a week, right? I'm not saying 7 days a week, because 7 days a week, you know, obviously I get regular movement, but Sundays are a rest day for me, technically. And Saturdays, I'm out and about. Love that title. I'm at the gym now doing a little bit more. There you go, Shani. A little bit more. A little bit more. So go ahead and do just another rep for all of us. You know, give yourself one more rep. You know, for us as a ode to the conversation that we're here having about a little bit more, just a little bit more, right? But that's what it's going to take, you know. And you know what? I think that might be what it takes for everything, you know, for us, right? Just a little bit more, right? Because oftentimes we got to talk about the mental side of it all too, and not just the actual tasking, right? You're always going to have tasks, but it takes the mental side to be right in order to be able to task in a proper fashion, right? So, and what I mean by that is, if you're struggling with things mentally, sometimes it's going to be most of the time it's going to be a hindrance, right? Because what you're doing, you're eating just a little bit more, right? And you're probably stressing just a little bit more. And you probably, you know, not working out, you know, to the degree that you normally would because of those things, right? But that's the hardest part. The hardest part is Hey, what's going on, Darian? The hardest part, you know, of all that is the mental side of it, because if the mental side is clicking, you can do almost anything, you know what I mean? Yeah, besides jump off a building without a parachute, right? We wouldn't suggest that, right? But outside of that, you know what I mean? You can do anything, you know, if you put your mind to it, formulate a plan, which is why I was so big on so many people getting these biometric scales, because now they actually have better planning, right? And what does that do? That decreases the stress that you have, because a lot of the stress that a lot of people in the community has is based on that scale. All week they thinking about getting on the scale. What is it going to say? You know, what how did I do this week, right? Because we all know men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? Technically, right? Because sometimes numbers, you know, can, if you're looking at the wrong numbers, right? And you actually basing, you know, things incorrectly, right? Like sort of kind of like I'll use RMZ's last story about the testosterone and his primary care, or the physician that was in charge, you know, not being well versed and focusing on a big number and not actually the appropriate number, right? So when you don't know, you got to actually, you know, dive in, you know, and find out, you know. And obviously RMZ is one of the people that advocates a lot for himself, you know, as I do and as some of us, but some don't. So we have to actually, you know, get behind people and, you know, show them how that looks, right? And that's what that looks like. But yes, so sometimes numbers in that aspect cannot, you know, may not be true. But for the most part, you know, almost 90% of the time, you know, maybe a little more, the numbers are what they are, you know. The invoice will come due for whatever it is, right? And that's the thing. So if we can get the mental, you know, lined up, we can pretty much conquer most of the problems. But we got to have the right tools. You know what I mean? We can't show up to the job unprepared, you know. And that scale, right? And I talk about it so much because, you know, maybe some people don't see it, but I see that scale changing a lot of people's days, their weeks, their whole mindset, their whole mentality. You know what I mean? Because they got the information. They got the information. So now when they get up and plan, they're not sad. They're not upset. They're actually okay. They're saying, you know what? I didn't do that bad. I did actually pretty good because now I know what I'm doing, right? So I think that those scales are actually helping to save, you know, people's journeys. You know what I mean? Because some people can get frustrated enough to actually quit, you know, and we all know what quitting looks like. It ain't good. It's a whole bunch of regain, you know, and a whole bunch of mental struggle and a bad life, right? And we actually have, you know, those of us that have been on these treatments long enough know that these things help, and they're a baseline to actually a better life as long as you actually work with it, right? When you do the work and they actually have studies out saying that they believe that they actually have cut down on violence. You know what I mean? And I can believe it. You know what I mean? I think it has kind of cut down on certain violence, because if people are happier with themselves, they're willing to do more, focus on other things. You know what I mean? And not be so upset, and willing to actually get into, you know, certain acts. Certain acts that they probably, you know, otherwise would. So I think that, you know, these medicines probably deserve, you know, quite a bit of more credit than they're getting for a lot of things and what they're doing to life, and actually probably saving people some money on their food bill. I think there's a study out about that too, because I'm seeing that people are spending less on groceries. You know, those that probably don't have children, because when you got kids, you still be spending money. You know, money that you pretty much don't want to, because the kids always want something. You know what I mean? Shoot, that's like even vacation. Like, you know, vacation we just paid for with these kids. You know, the kids is like paying for 2 vacations at one time. You know what I mean? Like, it's like paying for 2. That's how expensive it is. You know, when you taking your kids with you, you actually paying double for everything. You know what I mean? So it's like, woof. You know, and we like to stay, you know, in really good, fun, great atmospheres when we go on vacation. So I think that they're gonna have a time of their lives, because the little one, she's never been on a plane before. So it's gonna be a new situation for her. And then my son, he's 15. The last time he was on a plane, he was probably 5 and 6. So realistically, it's kind of like a first time for him again too. You know what I mean? Like for him, because last time him and his older sister, they were on the plane together, and I got them. I think we was on Southwest. They got in the cockpit and took the photos, you know, with the pilots and all of that. So with things being so strict now, I'm not sure they allow them to do it anymore, but they let us do it that time. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that's able to happen. But I think it's going to be a big deal, and that's one of the biggest things he said he was excited about. You know, because it's been so long, you know, and you can tell he's talking to his friends. He was like, he kind of slipped up and he said, well, I wonder how long the drive is this time for vacation. I said, well, you can drive to Mexico, but this is going to be a flight, buddy. So, yeah, you know what I mean? So it should be real fun, because where we're staying at. So I'll make sure I get plenty of footage. I may even go live down there for a minute just to show everybody. If I don't go live, you'll definitely get some shorts because it's a beautiful place. And it's in Playa del Carmen, in Mexico. And the place that we're staying has the thing I like about it is it actually has a lot of activity, for the kids. Kind of a water park there, and then it actually has the wildlife, so you get a lot of like the chimps and things of that nature, like kind of running around. So they're actually able to actually, interact and they'll see, a lot of the wildlife, versus some of the other, resorts that are I would say a little more like stuffy. You know what I mean? Like where me and my wife, if it was just her and I, where we would probably be, we'd probably be in the most quaint, stuffy little place with the best food you can find. You know what I mean? But with them, I like them to actually be able to have a bit more loose time. Sort of kind of in the jungle. If you know what I, if you get what I'm saying. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. I want them to be able to go ahead and experience a little bit of other. You know what I mean? Not be kind of like up inside, just inside the resort, but be outside, because where we going is really sprawling. So it's really like three resorts in one. And where we staying at, it allows us to have access to all three. So basically you can kind of roam the property. The beaches are on one side, and then the pools on the other side, where the slides and all. And our room that we selected is near the pools because they'll get quick access to the beaches and all that. I mean, to the pools and stuff faster. If we want to go to the beach, then we just basically take a walk. You know what I mean? Or probably maybe like 6, 7, 8 minutes over to where the beaches are. But yeah, it should be a good time though. Looking forward to that. And we'll be leaving next Sunday. So we're leaving next Sunday. So that's why I said this next Sunday's live won't happen. But I might go live Friday because Friday is observed as a holiday for me, since it falls on a Saturday. So I'll be on vacation from I got a 4-day week, and then I'm on vacation until the following Monday, right? Friday through Sunday, and I go back that following Monday. So should be very, very, very fun. So there's all of that. I think, like I said, I just wanted to update y'all on that. I'm, losing that fat, gaining that muscle, like I always talk about. And tonight we wanted to just get on and tell people we need to do just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. If you do just a little bit more, it could turn into a lot of results, right? Just a little bit more of everything will turn into a lot more results, right? I do want to hop in the chat a little bit, if anybody have any questions or things that they want to bring up, because I know last week I didn't. I went so long and went on my tangents and stuff that I get into talking and didn't even check the chat and went on and good nighted it and got out of there. But tonight I do want to, so in about a minute or so, we'll jump into the chat. And before I get off, talk to you guys about anything that you might want to talk about. Because like I said, I'll put a poll up and see what those things might be, we could talk about or branch off into, just to keep the channel going in the way that, you guys see fit. We do have 7 people watching and 4 likes. So if you didn't hit the like button, please hit that like. And then, we do want to subscribe if you have not. We would G's one of one over here. G's one of one. We do appreciate anybody willing to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification. So you want to tap that like, hit that bell. So that way you notify anytime it is that we get on. But yeah, just look down and smash that thumb real quick if you're on the call, because if you're on the stream, because we have 7 watching and 4 likes. But we would like to actually increase those likes. So please tap that like button to teach the algorithm that these are the actual type of streams that you like to see, so it can so that it actually makes more of this information available to you in your feed. I do oftentimes forget to say that, anything that I say here is not medical advice. Medical advice for you personally, not your physician. So please talk to your physician. Oh, what's your plan for eating on vacation? There's no plan, Shawnee. My plan for eating on vacation is to eat anything I so please. Because when I'm on vacation, I believe in being on vacation. That is the primary thing. Because that's what you should do. Because that actually is what helps that mental side we talked about, right? I'm going to take my shot before I go. I'm going to take my shot probably on we take our shot on Friday, but we'll probably take it on Thursday. So we're not leaving until Sunday. So our shots will be, I mean, we'll probably be coming down at that point, because by Sunday, generally, well, usually we take it Friday. So by Monday, the shots are like, that's not even a thing. It obviously is working and doing this thing, but it's not like, we have any type of thing going on at that point. So that's why I say we'll probably take them this coming Thursday. So that way, by the time we leave Sunday, they aren't a bother. Yeah, yeah, so that's really, what it is. My wife said she gonna work out and eat whatever she want. That's what she gonna do. Not to pig out, but she gonna eat what she like. Yeah, because one thing that we notice about and feel free guys to ask any questions you want. You can put some cues in the chat if you like. If you have any questions, because that's where we're gonna go now. Before we actually end the live, I would like to jump in and actually answer any questions. But what we would do is yeah, work out for sure, because we're going to be out there on our workout days. So we'll probably still do that. We'll get a little bit of working out. I mean, we'll walk so much that it probably won't matter, because we're going to be doing a lot of walking, a lot of movement, a lot of exercise anyway. We ain't sitting still. So we'll probably be fine. But yeah, just to, like I said, that mental side of it is to let loose and just go ahead and eat and have a good time. That's what it is. You don't want to be worrying about food, because the medication does an amazing job, and you can't, I mean, at least not me. I mean, me being on 15 milligrams, I can't overeat if I try. So it doesn't even, it's almost like I had a weight loss surgery, because I'm not able to overeat. You know what I mean? And so at most, I tried eating what I wanted on my, and got sick. I eat so clean. I tried to eat other things. It was bad. So now I try to eat a little more stuff. Yes. So that's what I mean. That's exactly where I'm going with the conversation. Even if you wanted to eat a whole bunch of crap, you can't anyway. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So even for me, I literally cannot. I can't. The medicine is so good that it doesn't allow me to really like overeat or eat really, really bad things, because it do make me sick. It makes me like nauseous. I can't even get it down. I used to be able to eat 10 wings, right? And when I say 10 wings, I mean like the wing ding. So it's probably more like 5. It's probably like 5 wings, not 10. But like just the wing dings, I could probably eat 10 of them. Now I can't eat more than 6. That's my max out. It does not pass go. I cannot. I ate 7 one day and I felt sick as a dog. I felt like I was ready to throw up. So yeah, you can't. But I am intentional about my protein, right? So I am smart at what I'm eating, and I do actually do a shake to make sure that I'm hitting my protein. You know what I mean? So, because that's very important. But that's how I'm getting those numbers. So anybody that haven't seen, you can feel free to go check out my latest numbers, because I always post my numbers in my posts. So if you want to actually see what I'm doing, you can see it, because when this live started, you can go back and watch the replay. But just a quick recap, I was talking about the fact that me being a male that's 6 foot tall, 214 pounds with 97 pounds of muscle, which is probably like 46%, somewhere around there. And overall mass being where it is at 155, I can't really go down to, let's say, lower than probably 190 without losing some muscle, right? So my weight is going to dictate itself. That's why my goal has been to be 200 pounds, right? Because I think that's absolutely okay. If I go 195 to let's 205, I'll be absolutely fine. And that's 10 pounds from now. So not even, that's 9 pounds, 205. So for me, I'm really, 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 really close, you know what I mean, to that. And like I said, even if you put it in Google and I put all of my stats in there, like my body weight, my body fat, my muscle, all that, they even suggest no more than between 190 and 195 for me to being at a healthy weight for my body, because of the muscle that I carry. Which a lot of it I can attribute to being so overweight for so many years and carrying around all that fat. And now my body fat is down to 22%. So my ultimate goal is to get to 15%. Because what I want to do is kind of like live in between 15 and 20% body fat, most of the time, right? So, a plan for attack. Yep. She said, Darren said, seems like you have a plan of attack. Talking to my wife. She do. She always got a plan. She always got a plan. So yeah, but that's the thing. You're finding what works and doesn't work. Yeah, so that's that's the whole thing, just like I said, that's where just a little bit more comes from, because for me to get those rest of those pounds, like to get this 14 pounds off, right? To get these 14 pounds off over the next, because again, technically to get this 14 pounds off, I have water workouts and live life on vacation is the way. Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's it. That's it. And live life. We ain't, you can't be worrying about all that on vacation. But yes. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's literally just doing a little bit more. Because it suggested that I increase my walking. So now my actual app. My actual app does tell me like my steps. I generally get around 8,000. I get in between 7,000 to 8,000 steps every day. But I generally, that's with me walking a mile. I walk a mile guaranteed at least at minimum 4 days a week. I walk a mile, but that's the minimum. But what it's telling me is it wants me to walk 2 miles. Now this has nothing to do with my regular movement because I'm walking around doing things all day, but I'm talking about my structured walks. So it's telling me to increase it to 2 miles. It wants me to double it for me to get to this 200 pounds. So to get to that 200-pound mark, I need to actually double, my walking and then increase my weightlifting. Because I'm lifting 4 days a week, but it wants me to lift even heavier. So I've been slowly going up because, like I said, I had to be careful because of what happened with my neck. And I don't want to have neck problems, right? I'm a huge proponent for living life. So many folk wait until they reach a goal before they enjoy life. I want people to live as they get to their goals. Absolutely, Darren. That's the thing. And that's why I said on vacation, we not worrying about anything we have a taste for, we like to have, we're gonna have it. Because again, we did something really amazing by getting our health to where we've gotten it to. You know what I mean? Losing all of this weight and doing it the right way, not losing muscle, you know what I mean? Which is, what you want to keep. And being good most of the time, you know what I mean? Like we do well, we've been being good. So, I mean, when you go on vacation, you definitely want to let loose and do your thing. Yep. So, and then happy anniversary to RMZ and his wife. That's an amazing feat, to get to 28 years. I think it's 28 years, RMZ, correct me if I'm wrong. We have number 19 coming up in September. And then to be together for 33 years, that's also amazing. Because for us, if my memory serves me correct, we're coming up on 27 years. So 19 years married and 27 is 2027, 28 years. We're coming up on 28 years. 28 years. We're coming up on 28 years together and 19 years married. So yes. Absolutely. So that's an amazing thing, to be, in each other's lives that long, you know what I mean? Because just like you guys, we was really young people, basically very, very young people getting together. So, and to appreciate that, Darren, to stand the test of time, because time is a mother. Time is a mother. And the reason why I say that is because so many things occur, right? Time is the hard part. Yes, it is a feat nowadays, sir. It is absolutely a feat. Because to stand the test of time is the hardest thing because of everything that happens in between, right? Lord bless you for your patience and strength. I know Jesus is a handful. Don't get her started. But yes, it is a lot of things come into play. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you make it, you got to celebrate it, right? Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people I know, started when we started and didn't last long, and then some did, and then we were shocked to see currently that they're not. So it's a blessing, right? It takes a collective effort. So, like I said, let me jump in the chat real quick just to see if anybody got any cues, any questions, anything they want to know or talk about. And we got 6 people watching and 5 likes. So if you haven't hit that button, please hit that button, smash that thumb and smash that bell, tap that thumb, smash that bell, however we want to, preference it. But we like to make sure that the algorithm knows what it is that you want to see. So Darren, so his family, Darren asked about Jason, a friend of mine that passed away. We actually kind of grew up in the church together. And then when we started having these events, he started to actually come to them because he was actually showcasing his book, because he wrote a book a book surrounding focus, and basically he was doing that and then mentoring people. So with that, we kind of reconnected. And as far as his family, they actually some are in Maryland, and then some are in Maryland, and then so because they're from South Philadelphia, but they lived in Yaton, but a lot of them live in Delaware and then Maryland and other. So I don't really interact with them too much on a regular, but I do keep up with them on socials, and even his mom too, and they appear to be doing the best that they can when something like that happens, which is just that doing the best that they can and allowing time to heal the wound. But you never forget, especially with a person like him, because he was super lively and he was a connector. You know what I mean? He was like the guy that connected their family. He was the one that kind of bring people together. You know what I mean? So when you lose that one, it's tough because that means that the fracture is hard. So let me see. Jump in the chat. I'm just jumping in the chat right quick. Make sure I ain't missing nothing. Yeah, I think I got through most of the chat while we was talking. I just wanted to make sure because a few times I jumped off and then I saw certain people later on, so I wanted to make sure. All right, yep. So yeah, so if you got any questions before we go, just drop them in the chat. But yeah, so this family is doing the best that they can. Like I said, yeah, it is, man. It is definitely. And then he was such a young guy, man. He was, just 47. So just to be 47, his son, I think his son's living in California. His son actually is married, young guy himself, just starting out. So he's definitely gonna miss that, miss having his pop around. And he had like some small grandchildren. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a thing, for them for many years to come. I believe, because he was that kind of guy. So. But definitely appreciate you for asking, Darian. But that's the kind of community we got. So I definitely appreciate that, jumping in and asking. So like I said, what I'm going to probably do is on Friday, I might do a live then, since I'm not going to do one next Sunday, since we'll actually be, in Airborne. I'll probably do a short. And then when I get down there, I'll do shorts, once I compile, imagery and stuff like that I actually want to post and everything. I'll do that. So I mean, and a lot of you guys got my regular social media, so you'll probably see it there first before you see it anywhere else. Because we got some of the networking events and things of that nature coming up for Bosses and Babe, stuff like that, as well as the actual event that's coming up next year. So I definitely want to make sure we keep people abreast of those things that we got going on. And we'll actually probably jump into talking about the meetup that we talked about as the guys at some point as well. Yes, for people watching the replay, please do so. Share those socials and where they can find more. But yeah, just wanted to jump in, like I said, and cover this week because I feel like it was a really good one. I actually, like I said, down to the lowest weight I have ever been, 214 pounds. I mean, as an adult, I should say. I don't know about ever been, but at least as an adult, 214 pounds is, I mean, just saying that, you know what I mean? It's like something else, I mean, the day that I can say 200 is going to be a crazy one, because I'll definitely share my socials in there. My actual socials are on here, obviously G's101. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can pretty much type in G's33, G's33, and then I'm the same G's101 on TikTok. I believe I could be wrong. I'll post it in the description because I'm not on TikTok that much. I created that just sort of kind of like wanting to see what it was about, and I got to do better with that because I'm not really. I'm more so on Instagram more than anything. Facebook sometime, and under Facebook it's just my name, Gregory. It's Gregory Brown actually. So it's my actual name on Facebook. And then, like I said, on TikTok, and then I'll be on X, but I don't really put nothing on X. You know, that's just for reading, like for me. But primarily, like I said, I'm on Instagram more than anything, and then obviously catch me here. And I have been sharing my actual YouTube on Instagram, so people can actually come here. And my followers did grow some, so I am appreciative of that. My followers actually have. I still remember a long time ago when I was stuck at like 39. I had like 39 followers. So while I only got like 340, 50 followers now, I remember being at like 30, 40 followers. So I am very appreciative that I done increased that tenfold. So I do want to put respect on my 300 and I believe 43 or 44 followers that I have to date, because the followers that I do have are super important, and they're a big, you guys are a big deal. So it's not like that 344 don't have powerhouses, because there's some powerhouses in there. If the weight numbers are important. Yes. It's not so much about the weight number. So earlier, I was talking about my actual ultimate goal, because if you were oh, that's a bunch. That is a bunch, because you know what I think about, Darren? I think about if I had 343 people in a room and I was talking to them, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. So you are correct, Darren. And I always reel that crap in when I say that, because I say 343 people listening to me and coming to like that's a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot. You know what I mean? So I try not to compare myself to the 3,000s and 30,000s, Some of us would love 343 subs. Yeah, I'm sure. So and especially with all the work that goes into getting on here and having courage and talking to people and trying to keep it entertaining and all of that. So, and covering your journey and being open to talk about stuff. You know what I mean? Because for me, I get as much from this as I give, right? Because this is what I enjoy to do, and it's therapeutic for me as well to come down and talk to people and share my journey and then get information from them. So this is my thing, because I don't really have a thing, because my wife be like, well, what, a lot of people have a thing. People play video games, people play sports, people do. I don't really have a thing. I'm a guy that works and go home. That's what I do. I work. You know what I mean? That's just what I do. So this here is more like an outlet for me and something that I enjoy doing. So I try not to talk about work when I'm on here. But sometimes I will reference it. You know what I mean? So because it's hard not to. If you're managing a pharmacy and you're talking about GLP-1s, you kind of can't help it. Especially when you get into the molecules and all of the other scientific measures and stuff like that. And then when you're talking about body recomp and trying to get people to focus on what, overall general health looks like beyond total weight loss, right? So to answer Darren's question before I go, my actual goal is to be 200 pounds and kind of live in that space in between, because we know with weight loss, you're not going to be one weight. That's never going to happen, right? But you are going to fluctuate, probably as men, anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds. So if I can live in between 195 and 205, I'm absolutely fine with living my life like that, right? But if lo and behold, something were to happen and I got back to 214 where I am right here today, I'm okay with that too. That's why I want to get to about 200 pounds, because if I ever get set down and I gain, 10, 15, 20 pounds, it only will lead me here, right? And I'm still healthy here. So that's kind of my trajectory and what it is that I think and how my thinking process works, is you get down to a weight that gives you room to actually live, you know what I mean? And for things to happen and occur for you to get back, you know what I mean? Nope, won't happen. No, but funny enough, that would be my healthy BMI. A healthy BMI for me would be 184 pounds. So I don't on that BMI scale, but it wouldn't be healthy for me but because I know my numbers. That's why, like I said, I've been such a proponent of that Renfro scale, because when you get the Renfro scale and you know your numbers, I know that for me to get to 183, 84 pounds, I would lose some of my muscle. And I don't want to do that, because that's actually overshooting the goals, right? Because my goal is just to lose body fat and to maintain my muscle. Because technically, I don't really need to. I always like muscle, but with me having, again, 97 pounds or 40, 45, 46% skeletal muscle, I'm not in a desperate need to gain muscle. I need to maintain the muscle I have and lose my body fat, right? So my main goal here is to lose body fat, period. So my body fat percentage right now is 22. It's 22%. So I'm kind of on the road to 15%. If I could live in between 15 and 20%, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine because that is kind of holy grail for middle-aged men. 15 to 20%. You're good to go. All that 10%, 12%, that's like for young athletes and all that. I'm good on that because then too, you got to realize it's a mental trade-off for actually maintaining that kind of weight. You can't maintain 190 pounds at 10% or 100, at 10% body fat without putting in a lot of physical work, 3 miles a day, lifting like crazy. Like I don't really want to do that. I want to enjoy working out, walking, and let it be a thing that I don't feel like is a burden. But for me to actually get that low, to let's say 190 pounds and 10% body fat, hey, Grant, that actually becomes a burden. You know what I mean? Because now it's like, oh, I got to do this. It becomes too much. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So again, anywhere between 195 and 205 is where I would like to live at 15% body fat. You know what I mean? And that would be optimal health and amazing, for me. And again, if you're looking at scale, Renpho, Google, they tell me between 190 and 195, at that 10 to 14% body fat, So either way, we getting real close. And we still got at least another 5 months to get where I want to go before I would have like the lipo that I talked about earlier. So anybody that missed it, go back and watch from the beginning because we did talk about all that. But that's my final like finishing touches is to get that lipo on 360 on the abdomen and that back flat, the upper back. Yeah, you're right, Darren. But I ain't trying to go to 190. I don't want to be one. Again, remember, my bottom is 195. 195 to 200. That's where I want to live. You know what I mean? 190 is a little bit lower than I want to be because, like I said, that's just not. I think that the maintenance of that would be difficult. You know what I mean? To maintain that low would be difficult for me. You know what I mean? And I don't want my every waking moment to be about, and being below that would actually start to affect my muscle. I don't want to go that low. 190. Yeah, hey, yeah, you're right. It ain't that much difference, but it's a difference, buddy. It is a difference. That's a far difference. well, that's why we agreed. That's why my agreeable point is 200 pounds, man. That's why I said I want to live at 200 pounds. 195 is the low end, right? So I'm 214 right now. I'm 214 pounds. So I got 14 pounds to lose. That's what I got. I got 14 pounds to lose, but the 14 pounds needs to be fat. I don't want it to be muscle. I want it to be fat. I need 14 pounds of fat to come up off me. I got 47 pounds of body fat, right? So if I got 47 pounds of body fat going on, if I could just bring that down to right around 32, 33 pounds, we in business. You know what I mean? Because that's all I need to do. I'm okay with having a few pounds of body fat. I want to be that cold. I'll be cold. You know what I mean? I'll be cold. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to be that. I'll be freezing if I lose all my body fat. So, but yeah, we just want to let that body fat go. So, hey, Darren, you right behind me, Darren, because when they drop this Rudder, we're going to get you on that Rudder 12 milligram. When you get on that Rudder 12 milligram, you going to be 200 pounds too. Watch. Just wait. You just wait. You know what I mean? When you get that Rudder and you hit that 17%, they're going to say, what happened to Darren? He disappeared. Yes, absolutely. You got it, Darren. As long as my overall health is pristine, that is where it is. That's where it's at, man. That's where it's at. When you get to that point, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm grateful. I never knew, if nothing else happened, let me be very clear before we hang up. For me to be at 214 pounds is like crazy, man. Like when I was at 319, I couldn't have told you I was gonna be at 214. I mean, really? I mean, come on, 214, all the way from 319 pounds to 214 pounds is crazy. You know what I mean? Like when you sit back and like put that in retrospect, when I really think about it, that's really something. You know what I mean? To actually get to the point that I'm that weight. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure I haven't been that weight since probably high school. I'm certain I haven't been that weight. You know, probably since you know, hell, if I want to stretch it, probably like 8th grade. You know what I mean? This is like 8th grade weight. You know what I mean? Like I probably was 14, 13, 14, somewhere around that being this low. You know what I mean? I can't because I'm pretty sure I was in I know I can remember being 8 weighing like 81 pounds. You know what I'm saying? 8 years old. So I already know by the time I was in high school, I was probably at like 180, 190. You know what I mean? You know, something like that. Yeah, I really am. I really am. I certainly am. You know what I mean? Feeling a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm in the best shape of my life, man. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life right now. So I do appreciate. So I appreciate everybody for jumping in here with us tonight. You know, coming to visit G's One of One like y'all always do every Sunday. You know, 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock. I aim for 8:30, but I find 9 o'clock okay because a lot of our West Coast people a community is just 6 o'clock and they can actually jump in and holler at us at that time. So I think that's also a good thing for them. But like I said, we're always, you know, going to show up, and that's why I showed up here tonight. All right, guys. So like, please watch that replay. You know, get those watch hours up for me. Let people know about G's One of One. Catch me at G's33 on Instagram. Catch me on Facebook at Gregory Brown. Catch me on TikTok at G's One of One. Catch me. Just change the time to 9. Yeah, you're right, Darren. I probably should change the time to 9, but I didn't schedule this live, so it didn't really matter. I didn't schedule it at all. I just jumped on at 9 o'clock. But when I do schedule it, I probably will put 9 o'clock because that's what it ends up being most of the time. And I don't want, you know, that's kind of like when I'm able to get down here on a Sunday. So, you know, there's that. But like I always like to end all of my lives, Obesity Warriors, stand up. We end this together. Later. You guys have a good night.